ECPI University. I'm very excited to have this panel for our criminal justice graduates to talk to the current criminal justice students so that they have more of an insight of what to expect when they graduate. And thank you so much for everyone for taking time out of your evening to join us, and a special thanks to our panelists as well for taking time out of their evening. It means a lot to all of us. So without further ado, we do have 4 great criminal justice graduates with us today. They all have very different careers, but with the same degree. So it's great for you guys to hear the different paths you can take when you graduate. If you have any questions for them, if you put them in the chat as it comes to your mind, then we will go through at the end and answer any questions that you may have. And without further ado, I am going to bring in Dwayne Bean. He is a 2015 criminal justice graduate from ECPI University. And Dwayne, I'll go ahead and ask you your questions now so we can dig into your story.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. So the first question is, what is your current role and where do you work?
So my current role right now is I'm the director of agency programs with a company called Cognitio Core. We're a federal government contractor. So we support the federal government. Currently, I directly support the CIA. For those of you that are not familiar with the nickname the CIA has, is it's typically called the agency. So probably for the rest of my speaking part, anytime I refer to the CIA, I'll be saying the agency.
Awesome. So my second question for you is going to be, in your specific job, what are some of your daily tasks that you have? Like, briefly explain what you do and how it plays into the role of your company.
Yeah, absolutely. So my role is kind of dual-hatted. First, I manage a team of about 14 engineers and other program managers. We do social media exploitation. So what I mean by that is we try to reverse engineer social media platforms such as TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, WeChat, things of that nature, trying to track foreign terrorist organizations, targeted individuals, and then create personas and reverse engineer those programs so that we can learn how to exploit those programs. On top of that, I also run our agency program. So what I mean by that is I handle all of our business development specifically within the agency and our overall portfolio, whether that is expanding business with our current clients, networking, and talking to other clients at other agency locations.
Thank you. And how long have you been doing this?
Specifically within the intelligence community, this is my 23rd year. Shockingly, I am still very, very excited to go to work every day. It's a different day depending on what we're doing and what's happening in the world. With Cognitio, I've been with them just under 3 months on the current role that I'm with.
Very cool. So I want to take you way back and ask you, when you were coming to school, why did you decide to pursue criminal justice, homeland security? Why was that your choice?
ECPI kind of fell into my lap. I was looking for a fully online undergraduate program. I was completely sold on the 2.5-year model. I could have went faster if I wanted to. It fit my travel schedule at the time. The first Intel job I had to travel 90 days a year, so about 20 or 25%, which was a little brutal at times. So online learning was fantastic. I spent 12 years in the U.S. Army doing intelligence, and this was the closest degree that fit to what I wanted, what I was currently doing in the military, and where I wanted to go. And ECPI, like I said, just fell right into my lap, and it was fantastic. It's pretty much led me to where I am now.
That's great. So take me a little bit through your career path. So you graduated from ECPI. What was that first job after graduating, and how did you make it through the different careers until you found your current role?
Yeah, absolutely. So it really goes back to my military days. I was an all-source analyst. I actually reclassified. First, I was an infantry guy in the U.S. Army side. I was not a fan of running through the woods and jumping in puddles and digging foxholes anymore. So I switched to intelligence. And then once I got my degree, it put me more into a strategy and governance and a program management standpoint. So that was all about intelligence gathering as an analyst. And I quickly moved up the corporate ladder from there, whether it was becoming a PM, managing contracts, managing individuals. But what I did very well and what helped me groom myself was something I learned from ECPI was a lot of my courses had down in the weeds technical folks, especially no matter what the program is at ECPI. And I quickly learned, with me not being a down in the weeds engineer, how to take what they do and translate that to the business and the strategy side of the house. When we have internal stakeholders, they don't have the time or they don't have the understanding to get down in the weeds and learn how to do the ones and zeros in code, and build applications from scratch. So I had to quickly learn how to translate that to the corporate side of the house.
Awesome. Thank you. And that first job after you graduated from ECPI, do you have any tips or advice on how you got that job? So for current students, if they want to ultimately get your position, what do they have to do to get that first job?
Yeah, absolutely. I think by default, when people hear criminal justice, they immediately lean towards law enforcement or things of that nature, which is absolutely fantastic. I think that's a great path for anybody that wants to do that. But there's two sides of the house, right? So criminal justice and criminal intelligence, they're somewhat related, but they're distinctly different. So as you guys all know, criminal justice is the system of laws, policies, procedures to criminalize or to process crimes, deliver sentences, things of that nature. But the criminal intelligence side is exactly what you would do as like a detective or a corrections officer, which I did, prior to becoming a federal contractor for 5 years, where you are collecting, analyzing, disseminating information, and you're creating kind of like a case study, whether it's on an individual or an organization. That is the true definition of intelligence. So I think for the criminal justice side of the house, you have to make sure that you don't get into that tunnel vision, right? You need to make sure that you don't just stay on the path that's within the textbook. Look at the current social climate and adjust accordingly. Technology, criminal justice, homeland security is constantly changing. It's changing month by month, not year by year anymore. But I think at the end of the day, being able to look at data with a open lens and try to think about the second and third effects of everything that you're looking at can kind of put you, it'll give you that hybrid role. And that's what I tell people that I coach and people that I try to recruit to whatever firm I'm working for at the time is you have to be a hybrid worker at the end of the day, right? You can't just go by the textbook and go by what's supposed to be taught and learn and expand on that. Make sure that you're a dual-hatted individual and you look at both sides of the coin, because in the end, that's really going to make you more valuable.
Yeah, that's great. So you kind of answered the next question too, is just any advice you have to current students. And that's whether it's to get through this program or to get the job, or just any general advice you have. If you have any other tips or tricks to share, please do so.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think with criminal justice and criminal intelligence, there are a plethora of platforms and LinkedIn courses. Like LinkedIn courses are absolutely free as long as you have an account. At the end of the day, you can take open source intel courses, you can take criminal investigation, criminal analysis courses. And what that's going to do is try to think of it from the other side of the house, right? Not what everybody's doing today. Try to differentiate yourself by figuring out the unknowns that other people don't know. What I truly love about my job is every single day I get to go in and I try to find the pieces of the puzzle that people don't even know are missing yet, whether I have to make those up and kind of collapse a building or collapse a solution so I can find out what the pain points are, and then I can rebuild it in a completely different path. So I think as long as you are open to it, please look at all of the online material and the social media platforms or social networking and job platforms. There are tons and tons of training courses. And our contact information for all of us, for all the panelists, will be there at the end. Please do not hesitate to reach out. I can easily point you in the right direction.
Thank you so much, Dwayne. That was great. Great advice, great insight into your career. I think it's fascinating. So if anyone has any questions for Dwayne, put it in the chat and we'll answer at the end. But thank you so much for your time.
Yep. And thank you, Sarah, for putting this on. And thanks everybody for attending. I appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome. And then our next person is going to be Philip Hardison. He is a 2022 graduate of ECPI, and he did the criminal justice homeland security. So Philip, we'll go ahead and get into your questions.
Yes, ma'am. Ready when you are.
Awesome. So first question is the same. What's your current role and place of work?
So my current role is as a Marine police officer for the Virginia Marine Resource Commission for the state of Virginia. Technically a recruit currently because I'm still going through the police academy.
Great. And then in your specific job, I know you're in the police academy, but take us through some of the daily tasks you have so that our students can get some insight into what to expect.
Absolutely. So there's as Mr. Dwayne said, there's a lot of different roles and parts that criminal justice plays in. The one that VMRC takes in place is conservation law enforcement. Just to give you an example, and it varies from season to season. Currently, well, prior to weather getting warm, as Virginia weather can be bipolar sometimes, we were focusing on oystering. So just to give you an example, at least for my area, which is the middle area, which ranges from York to Fredericksburg, and the field office is based in Gloucester. The primary focus of a day-to-day thing, you show up to the field office, you get your briefing, or yeah, your briefing by your captain or your sergeant on what the expectations are for the day. You then go with your partner. You would go to a marina or wherever your boat is located. Sometimes it could be VDOT, it could be hooked up to your vehicle, or it could be, like I said, in a marina. Then you would go out, you try to catch watermen basically, and you would do an inspection. You would board their vessel and ensure that everything is in place, whether it be boat registration. You would ensure that the things that they have caught are legal. As I was speaking, when we spoke about this earlier, Ms. Arthur, we were talking about going on a vessel for oysters. So it's called a culling. Basically, they give us a tool. It's about this big, and we have to check a bushel of oysters, and we only have to check one bushel. So we would basically tap on it to make sure it's alive and then make sure it's the correct measurement. Now, if it's off on the measurement or it has a dead oyster, they have to dump not just that bushel, but their entire catch into the water. We also do enforce some other stuff. So with the summertime coming up, we'll be more focused on fishing and whatnot. One of the things that I had mentioned as well when we had spoken is that we also enforce federal fishing laws as well. Like sturgeons, for example, can get you several years in prison just because they're so endangered. But that's kind of the main mission, is to ensure the protection and the regulation of the fishing industry, at least on the coast of Virginia.
Awesome, thank you. And you kind of explained you are in the academy right now. And when do you expect to wrap that up and start working fully in the program?
Yes, ma'am. So we're in week 10 currently. It's a 20-week program. Our graduation will be on June 13th. For VMRC, at least, we have about a 2-week to a month post-academy after that, where they're going to go over various swimming stuff and just various fishing laws. And is it okay if I answer Ms. Desmond's question?
I think we're going to answer all the questions at the very end for everyone, just to keep this going, and then we'll answer all the questions at the end, and I'll call out the next person for that.
Absolutely.
But we will get to it for sure. And then let's go back to before you enrolled at ECPI. Why did you decide to pursue criminal justice?
Well, my father was in law enforcement for 30 years. So law enforcement was always an integral part of my life. I kind of saw how it could affect an individual and how to kind of adapt to that lifestyle. And it was always something I looked up to. When I graduated high school, I went directly into sales. It was just something that I was talented at. But I got really tired of working at a desk and seeing the sun rise and go down from a window. And I wanted to do something different. I wanted to be out there. I was actually an internet sales manager at Duke Automotive when I was researching ECPI. And I basically I made a phone call and I met with one of the individuals. I forget the gentleman's name, but he gave me a lot of information. I went back to my dad, and he was like, I think this is a great opportunity. Like I said, I did sales for a variety of time. I was given a great opportunity through ECPI for their DCJS program. They offered 3 certifications for $45 that would typically cost anywhere between $150 to $300. It was armed security, unarmed security, and arrest authority. That was more so in line for what I was interested in. Like I said, I wanted to get out in the field. So I went through that program, completed it, and I became good friends with the instructor, a gentleman by the name of Jesus Flores. I was actually able to get a job on the spot. So I would work at Duke Automotive from like 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then I would work ranging from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. at night, and I would just do it all over again while going to ECPI. And I just kind of fell in love with it. I loved what I did. It also gave me a lot of other opportunities through that. I also did some stateside contracting, which was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. Did a lot of gigs that I really enjoyed, and it kind of prepared me, in my opinion, for the environment that I would be introduced to in a law enforcement world. That, and I think the sales also helped because, as anybody will tell you in criminal justice, communication is very, very important. And typically, I would rather communicate with an individual than put my hands on them. So if you can kind of reach that middle ground where you're just like, hey, let's have a conversation before this goes any crazier, in my experience, that works a lot better than just going straight hands on.
Awesome, thank you. So I think you kind of covered the next couple questions too I had for you about your career path and how you navigated that. So that's great. So my last question for you is going to be, what's your advice to current students? What can you offer them on either how to get through the program or how to navigate, how to pick a job or things like that? What's your advice?
Absolutely. So the first and foremost thing is just don't give up. I know there's with ECPI, I know it's a very rewarding experience, but it definitely challenges you. You're going to spend a lot of nights doing a ton of assignments, but the reward at the end is more than beneficial. My second piece of advice would be to research an agency where you believe in the mission. For me, I've always loved the ocean, so VMRC was kind of a dream job for me. And I researched a bunch of different agencies before applying to them, but VMRC was the one that I really wanted to go to. So to be honest with you, that I got the job is I went in there and I asked. I said, what are the steps to do this? So don't be afraid to talk to people. Don't be afraid to, how can I phrase this? Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. My second piece of advice is to, if you aren't already, start working out. I cannot stress how important it is to keep both your mental health and your physical health up as much as you can. It will prepare you for a plethora of things in this type of work, and trust me, especially the academy.
Great advice. Thanks so much, Philip. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your time. I think we're going to go with Savannah next. So Savannah, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Awesome. So the next panelist we have is Savannah McCarthy. She is a 2020 graduate of ECPI in the Criminal Justice Homeland Security bachelor's degree. So Savannah, if you don't mind, we're going to go ahead and get into your questions.
Okay.
Where do you currently work and what's your role?
So I currently live in Texas, in Corpus Christi. I work for CCPD, which is Corpus Christi Police Department. I am a parking enforcement officer. Obviously, it's not a glamorous job, but my fiance is in the military, so we move a lot, and I'm still trying to, find jobs that are still in my career field. So I enjoy it. It's great. I write tickets all day. People hate me, but that comes with the job. I also write criminal citations, which is people that park in handicapped spots, but it's great. It's awesome. It's 8 to 5, and Monday through Friday. It's not bad. It's not a bad gig, and the pay is okay. I work with the city as well, so I get like the benefits of the city, and it's not bad. So
yeah, this isn't in my question list because but I did have a question for you just based on what you said. Like, how do you navigate? Like, your job is kind of you're kind of the bad guy for some people. So how do you navigate that? And like, any advice there?
So like going to ECPI, I know LeDuc always harped on, when we did some of the courses like de-escalation. So of course I use that all the time. And I just never, let it get to a point where there's an altercation. I just remove myself. And typically I just try to drive away. I try to get in my car and just go.
Yeah, you have the getaway car.
Yeah. We have a state vehicle, so.
Awesome. So how long have you been a parking enforcement officer?
Only 5 months.
Okay, so fairly new into it. And let's go back to before you enrolled with ECPI, just like I did with the other two panelists. Why did you choose criminal justice?
So I was a preschool teacher for 5 years, and I was like, I love kids, but I need to do something different. And I was like, maybe criminal justice would be cool. And like Dwayne said, it just kind of fell in my lap. I had a friend that went to ECPI and he, hyped it up. So I went and checked it out for myself, and then I fell in love with ECPI. It was a great program. It was fast, it was hard, but I really enjoyed it. The professors are great. So
Yeah. So take me through your career path. You graduated from ECPI in 2020. What are the different roles that you've held? Because I know you said you've been moving a lot with the military. So what are the different roles that you've had?
So like I said, I was a preschool teacher before ECPI. I did all of that, and then I was a correctional officer for about a year. Then we moved to California, lived in California for a year, and then I worked on base. I had 2 defense contracting jobs. One of them was working in a sim building, which is like for the pilots to do their simulation training. I worked there. I manned the front desk, and you know, you have to have certain clearances to do that. So I guess it's kind of in the criminal justice field, I guess. I was essentially guard 1, so I protected like the secret stuff. And then I worked, the other defense contracting job I had was defense travel system. So I would book all of the military's travel, and I enjoyed doing that. And then we moved to Corpus in October. So I didn't get to do those jobs long enough, but yeah, it's hard, but I'm still doing criminal justice things, as you could say. Um, I have met a lot of people working this job, federal agents, and it's pretty great. I'm a people's person, so I talk to everybody, and I enjoy it. I enjoy walking around and meeting different people. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. So you kind of have a unique perspective. You've been moving around a lot. I guess it's pretty good that you have a degree that can be translated into different things and it can move with you. Can you give any insight onto how it's been applying for these jobs and how you've gotten these jobs, and any tips or tricks that you have for landing that job after graduating?
yeah. So from personal experience, and I know Leduc has also harped on this, is like making connections. It's like who you know nowadays, and it's true. The jobs I got on base were who I knew. So I always tell people, like Philip said, get yourself out there, like put yourself out there, talk to people. And like I said, I've met a few federal agents, and they try to recruit me. So it's just who you know. Just put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to go talk to people or go to job fairs, because that's how you get your foot in the door. So
Yeah, that's great advice. I completely agree. So let's think more specifically for your last question. What advice can you give to the students that are watching this right now on either how to get through their program or any advice that you have for them at all?
like Philip said, just stick with it, and it can be challenging, but it's totally worth it in the end, because ECPI has really good connections, and um, it's just, if I can do it, and I struggle with school, anybody can do it. Okay, it's great. Love ECPI. The professors, they work with you, they help you out, and it's a lot of hands-on things, and I really enjoyed that, because depending on what career field you choose outside of ECPI, if it's criminal justice, you'll definitely be like, oh, I learned that in school. Like, I know how to do this. It's cake. So just keep your head up. It's hard, but you'll get through it. You'll be okay. So
Awesome. Thank you so much, Savannah. I appreciate your time. Eric, you're next. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. So we have Eric McCrae. He is a 2019 bachelor's degree in criminal justice graduate. And Eric, we'll go ahead and get into your questions, starting with where you work and what's your job title.
So currently, I am a correctional officer at Indian Creek Correctional Center, but Thursday I'm transferring into a new role. So I'm going to talk about the correctional officer. I've been a correctional officer for about 2 years now. Um, I was on day shift and night shift, very different experiences on both. Night shift, did the base. It was the same thing every night. Getting ready for programs. And let me back up. So Indian Creek Correctional Center, it's a drug treatment center. So a lot of the a lot of a lot of the inmates that are there, they had drug charges and they have to do the program before they go out. So it's a lot of it's a lot of reentry stuff. So you learn a lot and you experience a lot with that. So when I transferred to day shift, it was every day nonstop. Uh, you know, Programming, all type of stuff. But yeah, and the role that I'll be transferring into this week is a juvenile detention specialist. So counselor. I'm sorry.
Awesome. So, in your job as a correctional officer, what are some of the things that you have to do? I know you said you have two different shifts that mean two different things, but what are some of the daily tasks that you have?
Counting, controlling movement, and by that I mean, when we had like four different um, movements. It's like school basically. It's like they have four different periods. So we have to go out. We have to make sure that the inmates are going where they're supposed to go. Making sure the right ones get to where they go, and then we have feeding, which is feeding them. We had 3 meals we had to conduct, um, and that's the basis of it. But a lot more comes with it.
Yeah, of course. So let's go back to before you enrolled at ECPI. You had a choice on what you wanted to study. Why did you choose criminal justice?
Initially, I was very ambitious when I was young. I wanted to go to law school, and I wanted to make the process a little fast. But once I started learning, that changed. I realized that I wanted to help people more. So I want to work with the youth. I have a goal of mine. I want to open up my own group homes or whatever. And so when I started learning and getting the experience, I realized that I could do that with the criminal justice field. It would be a little different route, but it was very possible. So
Yeah, awesome. So when you graduated from ECPI, was this correctional officer job the first job that you?
no, ma'am. My first job, I was a counselor at multiple group homes in Norfolk. I got that job. My barber, he knew the guy who owned it, so networking. So
Yeah,
I
that's
got that job, and then a couple months later, I ended up transferring it. Not transferring. I ended up getting the correctional officer job, and I was doing both until I finished the academy.
wow.
When I
Okay.
got put on night shift, I think I stopped working at the group home job because we were real short staffed and the hours they weren't matched up. But yes, I was working two jobs in the field at once.
Okay. Awesome. So, um, how did you get that first job after you graduated from ECPI? Was it that networking that you did with your barber that landed you the job?
Ask your question again. I'm sorry.
How did you land that first job after you graduated? What did you do? Any tips and tricks that got you that position? Like any jobs about or any tips about applying for jobs or interviewing or things like that?
Networking and use I and not just that first job because I had a lot of interviews and all of them came through the career service department at ECBI. All of them, other than that barber one.
Oh,
So
that's awesome. So
really,
you use career services?
yes, man.
Great. And would you recommend that to other people too that are in the program to utilize their career services team?
Yes, ma'am. And also, you use your professors too. Like people like Mr. Leduc, they know a lot. They know a lot of people, and if you if you allow them to help you, they'll get you where you need to be.
Awesome. Thank you. And then my last question for you is, what's your advice to current students right now, whether that's in their career or in the program?
like they said, don't give up. It's every I'll say this, everything you need, ECPI will provide it for you if you're willing to work. So, whether it's tutoring, the labs, just utilize all the resources the ECPI got because they're helpful. Not a lot. I'm growing when I was in school. A lot of my friends were in school, and their schools, their universities, like in the area, they didn't have the same resources that not Nova State, ECPI had, and so really use them.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Eric. I appreciate your time. Now we are going to read.
Sarah, you're muted.
Thank you so much. So now we are going to go through the chat and see if anyone has any questions that they need answered. Let's see here. Jessica does have a question for Philip. Congrats on the new job. Can you tell us a little bit about the hiring process with the VRC and how long it took?
Yes, ma'am. So I applied. So they opened up the positions, I want to say it was right when I was graduation, April of 2022. I went ahead and sent everything over, resume, cover letter, transcripts, and all that. I didn't hear back until about September when they invited us for the entrance exam. So myself and about, I want to say, 50 other people took the entrance exam. After we had taken that, about 4 days after that, I got a phone call from their HR requesting a panel interview. So I met with the captain of the Southern area, the individual who is the person responsible for connecting with the Native Americans. We actually deal a lot with the Native Americans, believe it or not, because their fishing laws or the way that they're affected by them are totally different than the rest of the United States. And the head of HR. After speaking with them, we then took a psychological evaluation test, which is about a 300 question test that we had to take with a variety of different questions. After that, then they started the background. I went and met with the captain of the area that I would be, which was Captain Chris Miller of the middle area. Did basic background questions. Background took about a week. Then medical evaluation was shortly after that. And then I got a phone call right before, the day before Christmas Eve. I got a phone call saying, "Hey, congrats, you start on the 10th." And that was pretty much it. Then from the 10th, we started the police academy on the 30th.
Awesome, thank you. So we have a question here that says, what programs at ECPI prepared you for the field? I'm not sure who they wanted to ask that question to, but is anyone willing to answer that question?
So I'll hop in first because I think my career field is polar opposite than the other three panelists. So it might be good to have both sides. So for me on the Homeland Security side, what really stood out to me was criminal investigations, criminology, introduction to terrorism, and I believe domestic terrorism. Shockingly, criminology was probably the one that hit home to me the most. One, because I always wanted to find the nuances of how people think, how to exploit their vulnerabilities, and being able to do the analysis on that and try to stay 2 to 3 steps ahead of them at all times. That was one of the main courses that really drew me and excited me within Homeland Security.
Awesome, thank you for that. I don't know if that one of you other three wants to answer that too and kind of give a different perspective on your program and what classes helped you with your career.
I'll go if that's all right.
Yeah, go ahead, go for it.
I would say a lot of the programs that helped me, I mean, specifically Professor LeDuc, almost all classes that he taught really helped out. One thing that I would say, and I don't know if it would per se be a program, but some of the things that he taught in his in-person classes, one is using the simulation room that ECPI has. That is an amazing tool. Absolutely love that. That will really help you out because I will tell you, at the police academy, it's a lot of simulation stuff. A lot of the stuff that you're going to go through academy is going to be scenario based. That really, I would say, gave me kind of a leg up. Another instance that I often refer back to is when we got introduced to simulation pepper spray with LeDuc and baton use. That that was an experience. I will say that it did help me in the long run, both learning how to properly use OC and to use the phone batons and whatnot. That really did help, I would say. So if there's anything that you can do as a student or reaching out to individuals that will have in-service stuff like that, I would go to every single one. If this is the line of work that you're interested in, that type of stuff is going to help you so far down the road. I didn't see it then, but again, I was only maybe a month or two CPI. But now I will often refer back to stuff that I learned at ECPI at the police academy. And it's like, hey, I've done this before. So, and especially the report writing. We're actually about to take a report writing class where we have to write a narrative. And we did a lot of report writing in this curriculum. So I'm telling you, the stuff that ECPI teaches you, you are going to utilize.
I love that they are getting to hear from you guys too, because this is, you guys have been in their shoes at one point, and maybe, like you said, you weren't really able to fully soak in what you thought was important at the time because you had just started out. So I'm glad that they're able to hear from you and know, what to look out for and what to really soak in, and know that it's going to be used in the future. So they don't just, cram for the test, take the test, and then go from there. So that's great that they can hear from you and know that they're actually going to use these things when they graduate. So thank you for that, Philip.
I have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
So LeDuc taught a course. I don't know if he still teaches it, but it's special populations. It's a great course, and it really helps with law enforcement specifically because when you go into the simulation room, they use one of the scenarios of like someone has mental disabilities, and you have to try to interact with them and not just use force right away. And that course was really good. And he's just overall great. I know every time we go to the simulation room that every time I would do a scenario, he would throw balls at me to try to move around, and like, it was great. It was just funny and it was entertaining, but yeah, just a great professor overall.
Awesome. Yeah, I got to experience that simulation room before with him, and it was really cool.
Did he throw the ping pong balls at you too?
He didn't. No, he went easy on us, I think, but we did just interacting. Yeah. And so let's see what other questions we have here. Hardison, how well did ECPI prepare you for the academic portions of the police academy? I think you spoke on that with the report writing and things like that.
It really helps out a ton.
So what's the academy like? How can students, soon to be graduates, be prepared for the police academy? I think Eric, you can speak to that too, or Philip.
Yeah, the correction officers academy. A lot of you not literally everything that we went through in the corrections class, and other classes too, but the correction class, all of it was implemented in the training process, from PREA to report writing, use of force, all of it. So the academics, I did it already basically with that school, so it was easy, and you had to get 100%. So
I understand, Eric. I went through the same training as you.
Yeah,
that was horrible.
We each other.
You get pepper sprayed and tased and gassed.
But it's all worth it, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it was worth it.
Awesome. So, well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Dwayne, I think we have one last question for you, and then we'll go ahead and wrap things up. But someone asked if it would be impactful for someone in your position to have a psychology degree. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's a great caveat to the intelligence field. So I would highly recommend something with gaining insight into the psyche of a person, right? So there's so many niche areas within intelligence, whether you want to do financial analysis, behavioral detection, human trafficking, targeting foreign terrorist organizations. I mean, we hire CPAs, we hire people that ran a barbershop for 20 years just because they have great behavioral detection analysis capabilities. But I think psychology, you would be able to work within the one specific area is the vetting process, right? It takes 18 months to bring somebody into the CIA. They recruit all across the United States at campuses, high schools, vocational schools, things of that nature. But you'd be able to sit down with a candidate and determine who can be a special agent, who can deploy, who's non-deployable, who's better as an analytical or a quantitative or a qualitative person, who's better looking at the financial impact or anti-money laundering. So I think being able to determine and ask the right pointed questions and also the right open-ended questions would be phenomenal to have.
Awesome. And I just have a follow-up question to that too, just kind of bring it back to the criminal justice side.
Sure.
How did the criminal justice degree, like why or what are the benefits of the criminal justice degree in your position?
Yeah, so a couple core courses really stood out to me. So like one of them was global comparative justice, and one of them was multicultural communication. So those specifically within Homeland Security, if it forced us to think about society as a whole, but outside the United States, everything that we do has a global impact, whether you have to adhere to certain countries' customs, if you have to use a certain language, if you have to shake with your right hand or left hand, if you cannot talk to a female without a male present, determining what dialect of certain languages you have to use based on the region that you're in and what villages you're in and things of that nature. I think ECPI as a whole, and it's funny, I'm going to crack the joke that I'm the old timer on this panel because I graduated back in 2015, but you know, thinking about it back from 8 years ago, they were more focused on I would say more on the brain side of Homeland Security, trying to figure out how to dive deep into a person. And what I'm very proud about ECPI is hearing how you guys have the simulation center and how 8 years ago we provided feedback, and ECPI really took that to heart. You guys that are sitting in this panel right now are in a great position to kind of change the world for the next people that are going to be in your position 2 or 3 years from now. So all of us that are sitting here are reaping the benefits of what we did years ago. And it's simple things. Whatever you want to do with your career, try to think about how that course is applicable to what you do, but think of it on a global scale. How do you want to change the world? And the last thing I'll say is, specifically with my field, is we are very humble. Our name doesn't go on anything. We are not recognized for anything. Our main goal is to build on the foundation for the people that are future generations from us. We're just trying to build a concrete floor that they can stand on and continue to do great things with.
Thank you. Well, that's a great comment to wrap things up on. Like you said, all of the people on this panel have the ability to change the world, or at least make a great impact. And also everyone watching as well, you students. And you're right, ECPI does take in a lot of feedback, and we actually implement changes. So it's kind of cool to see someone that graduated back in 2015 and how the program has advanced since then. So again, I appreciate you all so much for attending this panel. I think you all gave great advice and great insight into your careers. If anyone has any further questions, I think I talked with all of you for quite some time, and they could all say a lot more than their allotted time on this panel. Dwayne, I talked with you for like over an hour, so.
That was my fault. I apologize. That was my fault.
So if anyone has any further questions for anyone on this panel, please feel free to reach out to me or your instructors. They know how to get in touch with me, or your career services team, and they know how to get in touch with me, and I can get you in touch with any of these people. And I think that they are all on LinkedIn too, so you can find them on there as well. But thanks everyone so much. Best of luck with your journey and your career afterwards. Thank you. And thank you to our panelists.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Sarah, for putting this on. I appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.